My name is Dave O'Brien. I'm a reporter at the Chronicle Telegram in Elyria, Ohio. I've been in Ohio for about 20 years now, well, 22 years now. And previously I worked at the Record Courier in Kent and Ravenna. I was there for about 16 years, and that's how I first came to find out about this case. This story was originally assigned to me by my former editor, the late Roger DiPaolo, and that had been, wow, I guess probably about 10 years ago now, some amount of time now, since I first took a crack at it. And then several times over the past couple of years, I've looked into it, but I came to be really sort of enmeshed with the case and very interested in finding out what happened to a missing person, essentially. Judy Martins was a Kent State student, and just before Memorial Day in 1978, May 24th to be exact, she attended a party, and either after that party or sometime when she was headed back to her dorm, she disappeared off the face of the earth.
A family searching for answers after nearly 47 years. What happened to Judy Martins?
As soon as my parents reached out and said that she was missing, I knew it was very serious, just because I knew Judy well enough. And so, some people say, well, she probably just took off for the weekend or week or whatever. And I knew that wasn't the case. And we all took it seriously. Nancy came in from Columbus, and I was out of town. I came back.
I can remember the phone call distinctively when my mother called me and said, we can't find Judy. And I was like, what? Because she was just a reliable person. She wasn't somebody that would have gone off on some tangent or some trip or something and not told me or my mother, because I had spoken to her on the phone the week before, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half just hashing out boyfriend issues that we both had. And, I think it was more shock than anything. And I kept thinking, this has to be a mistake. This just can't be right. Something like this doesn't happen in my family or anywhere.
And it affected our family in ways that you can't imagine, or maybe you can. It was, it just broke my dad's heart, and my mother too. And they were just so hopeful that somebody would come forward, that we would hear something. And obviously over the years that did not happen.
I'm not so sure things went down that last night the way they were said. There's been different contradictions, but I really have no idea. I just, we have never had an answer in all these years. There's nothing to go on. Her money was there. You'd think if you were planning on taking off, I don't know that you would plan to take off in the middle of the night, but don't get me started on that. But it was obvious to me that she had not left voluntarily, because there were things that she would never have gone anywhere without. Not to mention, she would never have done that to her family. She wouldn't have.
My theory, my personal theory, just based on everything I know, is that someone she knew either grabbed her, or, we hear a lot of times in true crime, that somebody made an advance, somebody made a sexual advance or a pass at someone that was rejected or denied or refused in some way, and then that led to some sort of angry confrontation or a fight, that then led to violence. We've heard that an awful lot. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility in this case. There are numerous ponds, lakes, and reservoirs in Portage County and Summit County. Summit Lakes, Lake Rockwell. Brady Lake is very close. But I think the water theory is a solid theory, because that's one very easy way to get rid of evidence, is to sink it to the bottom of a lake and hope that it never comes up. One of the last photos that we have of Judy alive is her at the party in a costume, in a disguise. You know, it was a long curly red wig. She had, you know, gaucho pants on, and kind of a flowery, colorful blouse. I would think within a couple hours of that photo being taken, she was already dead. And again, none of her clothing, her father's credit card that she had, you know, her purse or shoes, none of that has ever been recovered. And we just don't know where it is, if it still even exists. I am of the understanding that the United States Marshals Service, under the direction of Pete Elliott, who's the U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Ohio, is investigating the case, is re-interviewing people, again, from who police talked to almost 50 years ago.
So obviously she's been missing for a very long time. She was in her early 20s in 1978. So Kent State Police, the city police, as well as Kent State University Police kind of looked into her disappearance years ago. I've been with the Marshals for about 3-ish years now. So about a year and a half ago, up to 2 years ago, the Marshal had an investment in this case because of his connection to Kent State and asked me to kind of look into things. So we obtained all of the police records that we could that were still around and weren't destroyed, and then we started looking into the case. Typically when we do that, we review everything from the very beginning to where we are to date with the case, and we kind of go from there. So we look at the entire case file, review who was talked to, who was interviewed, different things that were explored throughout the investigation. So me, myself, I've conducted 5 or 6 interviews of people that were already interviewed, just trying to obtain more information from them, trying to get, you know, that little piece of information, maybe a key piece of information that wasn't vetted before or didn't come about before, to see where that leads. So me, myself, I've interviewed probably like 5 or 6 people that either knew Judy Martins or had some kind of affiliation or associate of some kind. We have 2 persons of interest, I should say, one of which has been talked to before. They both have been talked to before, were allegedly at that party and were seen leaving with Judy.
Yeah, he started interviewing people, and I think that he was appalled by the fact that the Kent police destroyed the records, and he couldn't believe that they would have done that on an open case, even though they followed the requirements that I guess were in place at the time. But Pete went back and interviewed people at Dunbar Hall, and he interviewed the last people that she was with that night. One of them, the other guy, had passed away. Even if he has nothing new, he's still involved in the case and interested in the case. And we really appreciate that, because over the years, we've found it very difficult to get anyone interested.
We have tried many times to get the FBI, get this, get that, get the other, get somebody to take a second look at this case. Well, anybody that's ever expressed any interest, they'll look at it for 2 seconds and be like, well, there's nothing to look at. There's no evidence. There's no trail to follow or whatever. Well, about 6 years ago, the U.S. Marshals office up in Cleveland decided to open it as a cold case, and we are forever thankful to them, because they're really the first ones, and that was at that point it was 40 years, first ones in 40 years that cared, and that's another part. It's like, doesn't anybody care?
The more awareness, the more eyes on this case, the better off. Someone knows something, right? We hear that a lot. I want to see this to its conclusion, because it has, eaten up a good part of my free time over the last 12 and 13 years. More frustrating is we don't know what happened to Judy. We don't know if it was an accident and somebody panicked and hid the body. We don't know if it was intentional and she was targeted. We don't know. And the not knowing is, it puts this in the top, at the top of my list of stories that I want to see come to a conclusion before my career ends.
She was always kind of the beacon for my brother and I. And she was very supportive, very pretty, very smart. She had all the brains in the family, I always say. And she was just a wonderful big sister and a good friend and a good daughter. She and my mother were very, very close. And she was just all around, like if you think, I want a big sister, it was Judy.
Oh, she was a great big sister. Very, very smart, very, very beautiful, and just a good big sister. She was like a mentor to me, particularly through my teenage years, the young teenage years, up until the time that she disappeared. So we were very close, and we worked at the same location, the same store. She actually got me a job there, and we were very close. So, nothing but good things to say about Judy. Yeah.
And in the scrapbook, I have things from her life that are, goes through from childhood on, but different things, like when she was interviewed on different things and how she was a class officer in high school, and she wrote a letter to the editor. And so a lot of these things, like here it was from Kent State University in 1978, that was in the Kent Stater. As an RA, I'm mainly a resource person. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I make it a point to get to know the girls on my floor as unique people, watching friendships evolve and seeing a floor get along are high points for me. If I can lessen stress and help resolve conflicts, yet trigger positive experiences in the dorm, I feel like I've accomplished something. I just hope people can understand that I do have limitations and that I am also a student. The only thing I want to add is, if you were at, and I've said this before, if you were at Kent State in May of 1978, and especially if you lived in Dunbar Hall, which was the last place she was seen, and you remember anything, contact the U.S Marshals office in Cleveland, Ohio, and no matter how small it is or whatever, and let them know. Somebody knows something, obviously. She didn't just vanish. So that's always our hope. And you have to keep hope. You just do. You just do. And if she came back tomorrow, I can say we never stopped looking. We never gave up on you. You're still part of our family.